Can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Linda, a second? Dan, thank you. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to reports. We've got the Tri-County Regional Planning Commission minutes. Are there any questions for that? Okay, unsafe structures. Do we have any questions? Okay, next is development summary. Any questions on that? Okay, we'll file and receive those. We're moving on to zoning cases. We've got ZBA-2023-009, petition of David Herman. Can I have a motion to put that on the floor? Matt, second? Sharon, thank you. Okay, Kathy?
Yes, a major home occupation is permitted as of right on a property greater than 5 acres in the A2 zoning district, of which this property is. However, if there's a need to vary from the requirements of our home occupation section, then the petitioner will need to file a special use request. In this case, he's requesting 3 special uses to vary from requirements of the home occupation section of the ordinance. This approximate 20-acre parcel consists of a single-family dwelling, residential sheds, agricultural buildings, cropland, pasture, and other farmland, and is located on West Grange Hall Road in Radnor Township. The first special use request is to vary from the requirement that a home occupation may involve the use of commercial vehicles that do not exceed a gross vehicle weight of 8,000 pounds for delivery of materials to and from the premises. The petitioner would like to operate a trucking business in this zoning district. He'd like to utilize 2 semi-tractors with a gross vehicle weight of 16,000 pounds each and 4 trailers with a gross weight of 13,000 pounds each. The next section that he'd like to vary from is the requirement that those pieces of equipment be stored in the dedicated accessory structure, and only 1 vehicle and 2 trailers or pieces of equipment can be stored on the property. And again, the petitioner is proposing to allow for 2 semi-trucks and 4 trailers, and he'd like to store that equipment outside. The third request is a separate section that requires that the home occupation must be conducted entirely within the dwelling or accessory structure. Again, those vehicles are going to be stored outside, or that is his proposal. So it's another section of the ordinance he would need a special use request from. There are no consents on this case, also no objections. The parcel is zoned A2 agriculture as well as all surrounding properties. The nearest dwelling is approximately a half a mile to the east. Kickapoo Sand and Gravel is about 3/4 of a mile to the west. Surrounding parcels are row crop agricultural fields. This did have a medium rating for protection. However, no farmland will be taken out of production. The petitioner proposes to store his company's equipment at the property when he's not on the road. His trucking business will transport new and used farm equipment and related products. Materials brought back to the property will be 80% farm equipment, 10% grain, and 10% building material. He is not planning on removing any of those products off of the truck. It'll just be stored there overnight, and then the next day he'll finish his delivery. He estimates 12 trips per week to and from the facility, and parking and storage of those vehicles will be behind a machine shed that's on the property in the northwest portion. Again, the nearest dwelling is almost a half a mile to the east and would not be able to see that equipment. The health department had no objection. This is on a primary county highway, West Grange Hall Road. The highway department had no objections, but did comment that no additional access points would be allowed. The petitioner is not requesting any new access points. This proposal is in an area on the comp plan for ag preservation. The form is characterized by agricultural uses. However, it is allowed to have other uses on property with the lowest producing land. This also is similar to the agricultural character of the surrounding area and could service surrounding agricultural practices, so is consistent with the county's land use plan. Staff recommended approval with restrictions. Unlike other special uses, the home occupation section of the ordinance has specific language regarding cessation of use. A lot of our special uses you'll just see when it's no longer owned by a certain individual. In this case, the actual language is in the ordinance. However, we did list it as a restriction just to bring it to light for the petitioner so it's in his knowledge. But the home occupation shall expire when the resident changes the home occupation, or when the home occupation ceases operation for 1 year or longer, or when the resident moves away from the property. Also, the second restriction, there is an annual renewal fee for home occupations, which is $45, and this brings that to light as well. The zoning board recommended approval with the same two restrictions with a vote of 6-0.
Thank you, Kathy. Do we have any questions for Kathy today? Terry?
Kathy, did we look at these trucks in a loaded condition and compare that to our seasonal posted road weight limits?
Yes, the highway department stated that these roads do not have a posted limit. When it's not posted, it allows for 80,000 pounds loaded, and the petitioner is aware of that load limit.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, moving on. Okay, it's ZBA 2023-13, petition of Todd and Paula Sheridan. Can I have a motion to put this on the floor? Linda, second. Terry, thank you.
This is a special use request to allow for a sportsman club in the A2 agricultural zoning district. The petitioner proposes to operate a sportsman club offering the training of retriever dogs. The definition of sportsman club per our ordinance is a recreational area or facility and its accessory retail sales and services containing space used for hunting, shooting or firing rifles, shotguns, pistols, skeets or trap, fishing, and other similar sports. The petitioner proposes to offer the training of retriever dogs on the property by overnight guests, including the attendant use of firearms, shooting and simulated hunting, the use of ATVs, and other related training activities. You will also have a concurrent special use request for the overnight accommodation for your next case. This is a 28.5-acre parcel located on North Townhouse Road in Roseville Township, not too far south of Route 8. There are 6 consents on file for this, no objections. The consents are for parcels to the east and southeast. That was for 3 separate parcels, and 2 people signed for each parcel. The parcel again is zoned agriculture, with all of the surrounding parcels also zoned agriculture. The 28.5-acre subject parcel consists of a single-family dwelling, an attached garage, an outbuilding, multiple technical ponds, which are designed for the training of retrieving dogs. This 38-acre parcel to the north is vacant with ponds, and the 160-acre parcel to the west consists of multiple pole buildings with ponds. Those parcels are also owned by the petitioner. The parcel to the south of the subject parcel is vacant, and the parcel to the east of the subject parcel is in agricultural production, and it does contain a residence. That petitioner did sign that adjacent owner did sign the consent form. The petition states that the property will be used specifically for dog training by guests, the attendant use of firearms, shooting and simulated hunting, the use of ATVs and recreational vehicles, and other training-related activity. Shooting would be for the training of dogs only, and ATVs may be brought to the property by overnight guests for the retrieving purposes. According to the petitioner, the overnight guests would be limited to 10 dogs on the property. Dog training hours would be limited to daylight hours, and guests will be directed to shoot away from North Townhouse Road. The parcel is served by private well and private septic system. The health department had no objection, although they did have a couple of recommendations in their letter. The subject parcel and dwelling are accessed by a drive off of North Townhouse Road, which is a new township road. No new access points are requested at this time, and we did not receive comments from the Township Road Commissioner. This request is consistent with the County Land Use Plan designation of agriculture. Other types of development other than agriculture, such as a sportsman club, are restricted to the lowest producing agricultural land. This did have a low rating for agricultural protection with its LISA score. The request is also consistent with the Peoria County growth strategy of generating economic opportunity and stability, as the operation of an overnight accommodation with a sportsman club could provide additional venue for recreational activities with lodging for visitors in the area. Staff recommended approval with the restriction that the special use is null and void in the event that the subject parcel is no longer owned by Coldwater Properties LLC, and the zoning board concurred unanimously with the same restriction.
Thank you, Kathy. Any questions? Okay, Mr. Sheridan, you're here today. Would you like to speak at all, or?
I don't have anything to add to the record. I think the petitions speak for themselves.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and no questions? Call the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously. Okay, we're up to our third one. It's ZBA-2023-006, petition of Todd and Paula Sheridan. Can I have a motion to put that on the table? Linda, Terry, thank you. Kathy?
All right, this is the special request for the overnight accommodation, provided that they meet the requirements set forth in section 7-8 overnight accommodations of the Peoria County Code, and provided that no more than 5 rooms or suites of rooms are rented, and rooms are not rented for a period of more than 14 days. The petitioner proposes to offer an entire 3,100 square feet single-family dwelling for rent on a short-term basis. Again, that parcel is on Townhouse Road in Roseville Township. There are 6 consents, the same 6 consenters as the previous case. No objections. The petition states that loud music and large gatherings will be prohibited. The closest dwelling, again, is 1,200 feet to the east. The entire house will be rented rather than each room being rented individually, so the property use will be similar to that of a single-family dwelling for the overnight accommodation. And that request is consistent with single-family residential uses and the natural features of the surrounding area. This parcel is served by private well and private septic system. The health department had no objection, but again did have a couple recommendations in their letter for the petitioner. The subject property is accessed by Townhouse Road. Were the maximum of 5 guests to stay at the property, the approximate trip generation would be 13.25 trips if each guest arrived in their own vehicle. The potential traffic generated by proposed use is less than the allowed 30 automobile trip per day traffic generation for a major home occupation, which would be a permitted use in this zoning district, so it's less than other permitted uses. We didn't have any road commissioner comments on this request. This request is consistent with our land use plan, and it's also consistent with the Peoria County growth strategy of generating economic opportunity and stability. So staff did recommend approval with the 8 restrictions in your staff report. They're the restrictions that you're familiar with, and zoning board concurred unanimously with the same restrictions.
Thank you, Kathy. Any questions? Matt?
So if you go over 15 days, can you do all of these things? Is all of this null and void if you're if you're on a monthly rental?
Monthly rentals are allowed as a permitted right, just like you could rent your house on a month-to-month basis to someone.
And then all this is
And it would
does
not
not
be
exist
considered
for
a
it.
short-term rental, correct.
I have 2 comments.
Okay.
Number one, it's refreshing to have a short-term rental application here with no objections. And number 2 is for Mr. Windish. If your dog ain't getting it in 15 days, you got the wrong dog.
Oh, nothing like having some humor in our meetings here. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Sheridan, I'll ask you again if you've got anything that you'd like to add.
No, I mean, nothing to add.
Okay.
More of a process than I anticipated. We found a way to, I'm going to say, go along, get along. Get it done.
Well, we thank you for working with us. It's always nice to have our constituents work with us on what it is, and hopefully the outcome will be exactly how you'd like it. So, okay, if there's no questions, let's vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously. Well, the next one will be at our next county board meeting, which will be the second Thursday in May, I believe. Am I correct? Pardon? May 11th. So, go before the full county board, and if you'd like to attend, would sure welcome you there, and you can speak at that one if you care to. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Any public comment from anyone? Okay, we're at miscellaneous. Anybody have anything miscellaneous? All right, meeting's adjourned. We can all go home.